All right, real estate. Today, I just finished showing a bunch of homes in Vancouver, Washington, about an hour and a half south of Olympia, Washington, from where we live, or Lacey, Washington. Vancouver has been booming since COVID. Everything has, but Vancouver really took off because everybody moved to Vancouver, I think, because they don't want to live in Portland. Portland kind of went downhill hardcore, and it's expensive. And the city has done nothing about the homeless. And I don't know now, but I know when we were there, was it a year ago? It was bad. And we went there for Thanksgiving to get away from everything for Thanksgiving, stayed downtown, really cool hotel downtown, had one of the oldest pubs in the hotel, which was awesome. And then they were known for their Spanish coffees and Thanksgiving turkeys, which was unbelievable. So that's why we stayed there and did the food, and then we went out to another fancy dinner. But walking downtown was terrible with the kids. It was disgusting. It was bad. Even going to Voodoo Donuts, which is their famous Voodoo Donuts, was never used to be that bad. So I don't know if they've cleaned it up. That was a year ago, but I know over the time people moved from Portland to Vancouver, and then Vancouver boomed because you can live in Portland, Vancouver. It's no income tax state, but then you could work in Portland, and then you could buy stuff in Portland, which was tax-free, although you have to show a Portland license, or they say, but who knows, right? So Vancouver anyways boomed, and it's still booming. It is busier than ever. Now I can see somewhat of not a decline, but a slowdown as well, from the homes I'm showing to on market, although half the homes they picked went pending right away. So they picked some new homes that were really good, great location, great price. And the other ones, as you know, when they sit on the market, maybe not the best location. One was right behind a freeway, literally. One was right next to a storage unit complex, and they're all newer homes, but locations were not as good. So a lot of them are still sitting. And then we did 2 new home build ones I'll show videos of, which is phenomenal. I loved the new home build, especially the one development, which was crazy. And prices there, brand new home, $590, $600 for now. Square footage was only 1,600 square feet or so, approximately, for $590, $600. And it was still beautiful homes, amazing. They're gonna have a community pool, a workout center, stuff like that. HOAs were a little high, as $145 or something a month, but overall amazing. And it was all farmland, and you could see Mount Adams and you could see Mount St. Helens. Of course, when you build the homes, your views get diminished, but who knows, they may have that pool looking out at the mountains. They haven't built the pool or the amenities yet. Still amazing development. So I'll post a video on that, or some pictures in here. I'll put some pictures or a little video going here while I'm talking about it, of that amazing house and development there. But overall, really cool. Now it makes me wonder again, my other YouTube video that I did, buying land up the corridor, up the I-5 here, up along Columbia River, how far will developments keep coming? Because when the new development that we were looking at was in La Center, and La Center is north of Vancouver, Washington, kind of at the very top. They're building it in and out up by La Center, right just south of La Center, north of Vancouver, in and out. And I don't know about you, but I'm hit and miss. I'm hit and miss with in and out, being in Oregon. I know they're already in Oregon, but then being in Washington, because that was always the novelty. Is you go to California, what's the first thing you do? You have palm trees, you have in and out, it's warm, it's hot, and you go and have in and out. And that was really cool. So, now the novelty's kind of gone. It's it's in Washington now. It's still an hour and a half from us, or an hour and 20 minutes, because it's north of Vancouver. But still, I don't know. I wish they would have just kept it in California, had it as an only California thing. I get expansion and making more money and going, and yeah, they'll do great, but honestly, now I'm do I really want to go to In-N-Out in California? I still want to do the In-N-Outs in California, so I still will do it. Let's be honest. I love In-N-Out. So it's not going to hurt at all. But I don't want to do the Washington, Oregon one. And we did the Oregon one, and we waited in line worse than California. And it was, I know they'd probably only been open up a few months and they're still learning their stuff, but I don't know. It just ruins all the charisma for me, at least. I wanted to go to California, have In-N-Out, and have that, that's only there. Anyways, I digress. I know I'm going on about In-N-Out. But it makes you wonder about the land going up the corridor, and you can see it keep going up the corridor. How far, how soon? Do people know? Yes, people should know, but do we have land? Like I'm up in Toledo now, up by Vader. There's for sale 22 acres right off the freeway. Big sold sign on it already. And so that's crazy, is just how much with everything, will they get up there? I almost got pulled over. There's a state trooper radaring off the bridge. I did two things right. I did not slam on my brakes. I was always taught, don't slam on your brakes, because when your front end goes down, they know you're speeding. So you're slamming on the brakes. So I lightly tapped just to drop the gear to show them that I dropped down on speed. But I didn't drop the front brakes. Someone else called me. Not sure who. Oh, and then two, I kind of like did the wave thing, and he actually waved back. Thank you for not pulling me over. I don't have to whisper, but thank you for not pulling me over, state trooper. Right on the bridge, just radaring the gun on top of over the SUV. And of course, vacant, like I was just talking about, vacant land, middle of nowhere, bridge, Vader, Toledo. Look out, state troopers. And is probably on Waze, but I don't have my Waze now because I'm doing the video. But there's been cops up and down this I-5 all day. And I've been watching Waze, and sure enough, they're just everywhere. So that was really cool that he did not pull me over, and I'm sure I would have slowed down if I saw it on Waze. I know I would have. That's why I use Waze. And Google's starting to show it too, but I just don't have my maps up. Again, recording. But it's starting to show you, people are realizing more and more that land moving up the I-5 is more and more valuable, because 22 acres right off I-5, yes, you're up Toledo, but I've only been driving 15, 20 minutes, so you're 15, 20 minutes north of where all those new developments are going in the center and In-N-Out and everything. Now you're 20 minutes up. There's nothing up here yet. You're past Castle Rock, where there's the high school and everything else. So you have a little town. You do have McMinimans. So you have In-N-Out, McMinimans, Castle Rock, the little town, high school. Apparently has a really great football team, the Highlanders. And then from that, then you have the Toledo Vader right there. And of course, also these are corridors over to Mount St. Helens and national parks towards eastern Washington as well. So that's a freeway up to Mount St. Helens, which is awesome. So great buy, whoever just bought that 22 acres off the freeway, and just proved my point. It just happened to be there as well. Did not time that, but I don't have a picture. Maybe I'll find the listing. I'll post the listing right here so you can see the listing of what I'm talking about. I'll try to find it and see how much I paid for it. I'm so curious now. But that's the whole point of this, is if you're driving around, you're doing real estate, you're doing investments, and you know stuff is expanding, you know stuff is growing, you can have the instinct to see like, hey, we're still pushing up. People are pushing up this way. The city's big enough. People are pushing down. It's starting to connect the dots. Eventually, they'll start moving out, spreading out more and more. You want more land. You want more housing. You want more industrial space, more cargo space. Like right over here is a huge semi-warehouse with Riders and Swifts, and I don't even know. Oh, it's Penske Logistics. So you have Penske Logistics right over here, right off I-5 again, in the middle of the woods. And there's some property available next to it, and has probably expensive because you're right next to Penske Logistics. So I'm trying to find land that's not already as known, I guess, because you're paying a premium. There you have the industrial park. Okay, now you're paying that 22 acres. Probably was a good penny, but maybe it was cheaper then because it was in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. I'm trying to find land where it's not as crazy. That was cool. They had a whole bunch of like probably 60 old 1950s, 60s, 70s Fords and Chevys and GMC trucks all lined up, all for sale right there. I'd love to go try to find an old truck, just like a old fun beater, good truck that ran that you could take care of. That's not all technology. That'd be run to go pick up. Actually, I don't know if I'd load soil. This one's a heavy duty one that could hold a lot of soil, but like run around and do the crappy fun errands that you don't want to get your truck dirty with. or fishing or hunting, where you don't mind if some idiot breaks the window because they want to break in, or who knows, you know, hopefully they don't. You leave the door open because there's nothing to steal in the old truck, you know. Hopefully they don't know how to hotwire, I guess. Yeah, that'd be a good question. Would I leave the door unlocked, or would I lock it hunting up in the woods or fishing so they don't break in? Because I've seen that before. And you don't want to take the new truck, because although what are they going to steal out of the new truck? I mean, it's not like they can steal the radio. There's no radio system or anything. They could maybe try to hotwire it if they know what they're doing. Newer ones would be harder, older ones would be easier. Older truck, I don't care about getting dirty though. And hunting and fishing, you know, although gas mileage is worse, ride is worse, because you're at one of these places like driving out here where you're going out in the fun woods, you know, you're an hour and a half away, 2 hours from some good fun woods. I don't know, but it'd be fun to have a beater truck, just have a beater, old fun. And it wouldn't be a beater because I'd definitely make sure it's cool, so it'd be a fun, cool, old classic truck. God, I am just getting blown up on text messages as I do my video. Anywho, the goal of the land hunt is what I'm calling this, the treasure hunt for the land, the elusive land, the hold to 10 acres, 20 acres, 50, however much land you can get to hold for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road. Yes, I like the main corridors of the I-5s or the main interstates where you know people are growing. And here we have kind of a unique situation. It's pretty much pinched. From Vancouver, Washington, up to Olympia, Washington, you have mountains on the one side, and then you have the Columbia River, or then it's just woods, and then you go out towards the ocean. And then it's even more pinched when you go from Olympia to Seattle, because you literally just have the corridor of the sound there, the sound, not the ocean, the sound. So we have water, and then you have the mountains on the other side. So again, you're pinched, and you have that corridor, so there's not much for expansion, so it's just building up. And that's kind of what Vancouver to Olympia is. Now, there's a lot more land where you can spread out. The mountains are a little bit further, a lot further towards the ocean, except for the Columbia when you up to like Castle Rock and whatnot, and then the Columbia goes off. It goes that direction. Yes, eastern Washington, and then up and around. No, why am I thinking the Columbia? That's not the Columbia. Sorry. The whatever river is on the left of us on I-5. It's not the Columbia, or is it the Columbia? Does it cross over and come down? I'll have to look at the map now. Good geography. All right, this is going to be a great podcast or YouTube video if you're watching. I will put a map here that shows whatever river. I'm sure it's the Columbia. But anyways, it's pinching. And so we have like one corridor. Now I know different states and everything may have multiple freeways and maybe divided, and you have all these triangles and squares, but we just have one. And so to buy where we can find something that's a corridor, and maybe not even on the freeway, maybe off just 5-10 minutes, because then you're not on the freeway for the development of the housing development, or you're 10-15 minutes. I don't know if I'd go past 15 minutes, because then you're too far from the freeway, unless the town or somehow the town builds up around you, but there is no towns right now. We're speculating. And the better the gold mine is, the further out it's going to be. It's going to be like the Wild West, the jungles, the Amazon, because you need to find that before anybody else does, or find that no one else either has the vision or thinks that it will be there in 10, 15, 20 years. Now, my last YouTube, I was talking about getting to like points, point A to B, flying, driving. Our technology is moving up so fast that eventually we'll be able to take, who knows, and I don't know if it's going to be in 20 years, 40 years, whatnot, 50 years. You can take like a little personal helicopter, a little personal self-flying machine that can literally go from point A to B, and you don't even have to worry, because back in the day it was old ships across the Atlantic, take 30 days, then planes came along. Now we have helicopters, now we have space travel, and somewhat space travel. So who knows where the technology is? So if the land is maybe an hour away, but it's amazing, and I say mountainside because that's what we have here, along the mountainside, down there in the beautiful country, but it's an hour and a half from the freeway. Well, who knows? Personal craft from Vancouver or Olympia, Washington may be 20-minute, 30-minute flights. Drop you off, and you are in the most gorgeous country ever, and you have these 10-acre parcels or 20-acre parcels, and you bought hundreds of acres over there because it was dirt cheap. And I say dirt cheap, it's still expensive, but like 100 acres, 600,000 or whatever we can find from the logging companies that are selling these chunks out there because there's nothing out there right now. But you hold on to it for 20, 30, 40 years, and with that transportation, that may be huge. So that's another option of that Wild West, Amazon. This is gorgeous. Do I have the money just to put it over there and hold? Generational wealth building. And who knows, you can use it for fun, for camping trips, for parties, for renting out. I mean, you have hundreds of acres. Come rent 100 acres to go four-wheel and dirt bike ride on and quad on. You know, because normally you have to do national forest, or you can't go private land. Here you have a private land. You rent 100 acres private land to put your camper right in the middle. You can run around with quads, dirt bikes, or just enjoy the peace and quiet knowing it's private acres. You could rent that out. I mean, a few hundred, $500, $1,000, whatever. Someone, you know, who cares? It's in the middle of nowhere. I would totally do that. The only thing I'd have to worry about is insurance, and, you know, because you had to hold it as forestry land, and so taxes would be dirt cheap. And then I would, insurance, you know, if someone hurt themselves, you have to have a hell of a waiver, especially if you're marketing as come ride dirt bikes or whatever on the property. I think the biggest thing would be trash. I'd have a big trash bin out there so they know everything goes in that trash, and you have a trash fee because you don't want them just throwing beer bottles and immediately, that's why they could trash on the ground or anywhere and starting to litter and getting the property. So I'd have I think that'd be the hardest thing, is just dealing with that, of tearing up the property. But again, if you're just holding it for raw land and it's forestry, who really gives a shit, right? I mean, in 20, 30 years, it's nice to keep it pristine and nice as you can, but that's just one option I'm thinking of, rental, to make extra money. If you wanted to make money while you're doing it, doesn't make much, but you can make it a little RV park, you know, off-grid RV park, especially if you have a river or a lake on it, or just beautiful country, and you have this amazing off-grid RV park, and you actually have where it's private, you know, you have an RV site, and you don't stack them all together, because the national forest parks, you know, stack them all together. KOAs do. Right now, stack them, give them an acre each or half acre or what RV, and you have like a big chunk to play in the woods, and you have the RV site, and that could hold you over for 20, 30 years of just making really good residual money. Maybe not much, but it definitely pay for the taxes and insurance or whatever, and you'd still make a good cushion of money just to have, but the holdover, the long-term gain is what you're doing. Back to closer to the I-5. All right, let's say that's not an option. We don't want to think about the travel. We don't want the far out woods. We don't want the cheaper Amazon stuff. You can still find the stuff that's the expansion, the western expansion of the U.S. You know, we started expanding west. It's the same thing now. We're starting to expand from the I-5s, from the corridors of driving. And so over here, all farmland, all country, all, I mean, I'll turn it over, show you, look, all farmland, all homes, all country. This is it, you know, and it's on the I-5, and we are literally next to, is this Chehalis? Am I already in Chehalis? That would be insane. I'm making great time. Where am I? Anyways, I'm somewhere. Yeah, I think I'm south of Chehalis. I know my directions, right? Who knows? And we're gonna try to fix the camera. I had it wedged so it'd hold in there, but may not wedge anymore. See, dang it. Hold on, sorry. Technical difficulties with filming. Back on to me. There we go. Yeah, this is Chehalis. No, this is Pial Raymond. Oh no, that's going west to 6. Oh man, we're gonna have fun with this now on the video. Now that I moved it and messed with, there we go. Hopefully that holds. Whoa, and not hit the guardrail. I'm not driving while doing this, by the way. I am just simulating that I'm driving. Okay, I think we got it fixed. I'm not sure. We're gonna find out if I got this fixed or not. We'll see. Got basically a piece of my business card I ripped off to wedge the camera in there. So, you know, if you're not wanting to go complete Amazon and wild west and, you know, way out in the woods, buy the few hundred acres or 100 acres, 50 acres way out there that's an hour and a half from everything, maybe pretty much no power. You'd have to put well on the property, and then power would be off grid unless you get lucky and have some logging thing that's right by some out there distance, little cow town, country town, logging town, whatever. If that's not an option, you don't want to do that and hold for 20, 30 years and maybe make an RV park or whatever you can do to rent it out to make extra money, but keep it forestry tax so it's cheap. Next option is my westward expansion that I was talking about. You could start to move along the I-5s, along the main corridors, along the cities, and people are noticing, a lot of developers, a lot of commercial brokers, a lot of everybody has already started buying that. So you have to now push it further. So instead of buying, across the Mississippi and people are moving across the Mississippi, we have to move to Utah, Wyoming. You have to move, keep going and go to Oregon, California kind of thing. And that's, maybe the Oregon, California thing is my one's way out there by the mountains. But the Utah, the Wyomings are the ones that are still on the I-5s. We're not the city, we're not by the industrial ones where we saw the industrial park with some land there, but we're in between that and the next industrial park or the next place where someone's already knowing that that property's worth a lot. So if that makes sense, we're trying to find that perfect level, that perfect location where we can get a really good price with the land right off the I-5 or whatever interstate, and maybe even 10 to 15 minutes at the most off of the road, off of the freeway, so you can hold it for development. That could be a 5 to 10 year hold, maybe a 15-year hold, and again, you're paying the taxes. It's probably going to be agricultural because it may not be as much forestry by the freeway, so maybe you can get tax relief doing some way of that direction, or again, doing some way to rent it as semis, RV parking, boat parking, something like that if people are driving through, but who knows, right? Or you can just stick a little shack on there and let someone lease out a little coffee shop or burger stand or something like that if it's in a good location, easy access. But that's what you're hunting, because that's the whole goal of this, is to buy in the future, buy the land in the future. With the expansion, everything's moving. These are like new bridges right here south of Centralia, which is amazing, and they've been building up, and so those lands from there to there, I can see it already expand. I'm like, holy cow, I'm already in Centralia. I was just down by McMiniman's Castle Rock. I was talking for, shows 22 minutes now, talking for 20 minutes. From there to there, I went from a town to a town, basically. And not much land in between. And there is land, and you need to start buying it because it's going to expand really quick. And then from here, from Centralia, Chehalis, we have Olympia, Tumwater and Olympia. And Tumwater is already booming, and the land's already starting to pick up. And so it is going to be all through the corridor. So who's going to buy? Who's going to buy at different locations? Who's going to buy the land? The Toledo spot back there, I remember looking at land, big chunks of land, 20 acres, 40 acres, not huge, but 20 acres, 40 acres. And this was pre-COVID. And they did have rivers down there, so I think one of them was even on a riverfront, and it was like 40 acres. I think it was like 300,000. I saw those lands pre-COVID. Now, of course, 8 years does a lot of stuff, COVID's been 5 years, but I think it was 7-8 years ago that I was looking at that stuff. And yes, prices have doubled easily, but that person took them, made them 5-acre lots, developed them, sold the homes. The lots down there, 5-acre lots, now are going for 200, 300,000 for 5 acres. And it's out there, it's on the river and not on the river. Actually, some of those aren't on the river. Small little town, 10 minutes off the freeway, 15 at the most. And that's what they did. And so that's, again, it's proof of the concept. And everybody knows this. Like, if you're listening to this, you know this proof of the concept. So now the hunting is, like, I'm even thinking, God, there's not that much in between here and here and there that I can really pick up. I got to go 10, 15 minutes. Or do I do the Amazon, Wild West, go all the way to the California coast, Oregon coast, Washington coast, maybe even Montana. You can put that in the Montana range of, do I just go way out there and buy way ahead of everybody else? And there is one chunk way out there towards like Mount St. Helens where someone did buy way out there and then did these little lots and developments, and gorgeous out by Mount Adams. but I didn't like the HOAs, I didn't like the restrictions and all this stuff. I'm like, no, don't do all that. And of course, that's the whole point. And it was way out there. So there are people that are starting to do that, but that's one in a million out there. So do you do that? I'm just talking to myself because it almost makes more sense, unless I can find something 10 to 15 minutes in that cute little section back there, and I know which section I'm going to hunt back there because I've got my little digital map right now that I know exactly. So if you are hunting or have a lot of cash, want to talk to me, let's go hunt, and I'll go with you and I'll go show you what I'm thinking of, because I've just processing, driving, and seeing. I'm like, okay, there's only really this little section that we can hunt, which is fine. And there's maybe a few little more scattered sections, but other than that, I know most of it's kind of been hunted here and there. But you have to do this with your own location. You have to do this with your own areas, maybe you're not booming as much as Washington with how fast it's going with land and how you're not as pinched, but you can still figure out that when it does get pinched. Sorry, my thing keeps just falling over now. It's just like almost done. There, I think I got it. We'll see. I love how our roads are worse up here in Olympia than they are down south, where the roads are a lot nicer down there. Now it's starting to get bumpy. Awesome. Good freeways. Up here, just Olympia, Tumwater, our roads are terrible. And it's the state capital. I swear the state capital spends all the money elsewhere and not on the roads on the capital. So it's like Albany, New York, right? All the money's, and then you go to Albany, you're like, really? Although, I mean, I shouldn't talk. You should see Olympia. But, again, digressing off of this subject, if you have a lot of money you're hunting, let me know. I will show you some of the amazing places where I think you can hold generational wealth for land, for long-term developments, and buy these big chunks of land. So everybody should be watching this video and you have money, even $500,000, $1 million, and it's just extra money that you can just sit and just put over there. And you'd rather put it in this land than the bank. 20, 30 years, I guarantee you it's probably going to be the smartest thing you ever did for your family. Not only that, do you get to use the land, you get to have fun on it. 100 acres, few hundred acres, whatever you're buying, the millions of dollars you spend that you hold, that's for that generational wealth. How much fun is that going to be to take the whole family out there to the land? You even build a small little cabin or just RV pad sites just to chill with the family in your middle of nowhere. If you can get a river bonus, big bonus, or a lake out there, more likely river than lake. But that's the goal. That's what you're trying to do, is to find something that makes sense where you can make a lot of money on buying land. Otherwise, what's the point in real estate? If you're just buying, you can buy. And there are key places that you can buy and hold for a few years. You can play the 5-year market and buy, and hopefully it goes up in 5 years, and building development. And I see it all the time where companies literally come in, buy a commercial lot, build this amazing new building, and then turn around and sell it. They get it leased and turn around and sell it. And they spent the money on building it, they spent the money on getting it leased, which is no money, it's just leasing it, which is easy. The banks will actually help you now, depending on the different credit unions and banks that are financing you if you're building it, will actually help lease it for you, so they know that their money's safe with getting a lease in before it's already built, gets built up, gets built into for the leasee that's wanting, leaser, for the place, and you're set. And then they turn around and sell it. So this one just did it, and they probably spent $2.5, $3 million. They're selling it for 4.5 when pending, and the person gets a solid 4.8% cap rate. So you get a solid 4.8. I don't think that is the best way to do my long-term money. I mean, you're getting 5%, so that's fine. And the lease, the client's in the leasee in the building, probably solid national company, or at least solid 5-year lease, and they probably have 2 terms of renewals for 15 years, so you know what you're getting, and you probably have a 2%, 3% hike every year. I think ours is 3% a hike on the rent every year. It's a good rate of return, and it's a solid investment. I understand that. Mine, I'm trying to think of hitting the mother loads with extra money, reserve money, because we can find you the commercial stuff. I can find you the stuff that says, yeah, I want 5% return here, I want 10%. I mean, I can show you places where you can buy, either build right now, or either plat mat it out and then buy and sell, or build and sell it, and you do make good money. But it's not that huge gold striking win. And a lot of these, there's no guarantees with what I'm trying to tell you about buying these lands out here and there, but it's definitely looking like it, right? The way everything's going with population, with growth, with people, with land. Now, I do say that, and then I should pull up a statistic, because I did see populations in a decline. So I'm curious about population and growth and everything. Now, I know other countries are going to surpass the U.S., but if that does happen and other countries pass with population and we are not as congested, just what happens with the congestion? We let people in like other countries to build up the economy, to build up growth. And so I have a feeling, even if our population does not go as fast as other ones, we will be growing with letting population in to keep the economy going, to growing and pushing forward, because we have the land. We are still America, home of the dreams, all this other stuff. And so I don't see us ever declining to where there's just land sitting around. I don't see it happening that way. There's some states where, yeah, you could say, well, that land will always be land because who the hell wants to live out there? That could be true. I don't know if I see it in Washington State, but who knows? And that may not even be true with other states, because someone's ugly piece of land, maybe someone's dream property with no one out there, half swamp, half woods, explore. I love skunk cabbage, smell through that. I grew up with development when we had 5 acres, growing up as a kid. My dad built a big home for us himself, and I built my home ourselves, like my dad, so I'm very proud of that. But in the development, the 5 acres, they had a horse trail that went all the way around the development. Still there. I still sell homes in Foxhall. And off the ridge on one of them, in the back, was all this skunk cabbage and all this swampland that we'd all play in as kids. We used to love running through there. And I shouldn't say running, you're going through the swamps. You got to be careful where you step. You could sink in a lot of stuff. But that may be someone's paradise, because I have great dreams of like, oh, that'd be cool to have a little swamp in the back, little tiny corner. Of course, my dreams are like 100 acres, 5 acres of swamp back there to go show the kids skunk cabbage and go play and see the different wildlife and all that stuff. But even if it is 5 acres and you have a little corner of the swamp, it's cool. That may be someone's paradise. Someone else may say, oh hell no, mosquitoes and swamp and the skunk cabbage smell and all this and that. It may not be their paradise, but everybody has their own idea and viewpoint of paradise. And so I don't think you can go wrong anywhere. It's the catch is, like my pop said, what are you going to do with the land? Do you have the money to hold and just give that land and just let it sit for 20 years or 30 years? Can you make any money off the land or not? Those are going to be your key questions. And will people come out there in 40 years? Is it still just going to be a piece of land in the middle of nowhere that no one wants? And the odds of that happening, I find extremely slim, but it could. So there are risks on everything. Don't let me cherry coat it, say there's no risk on any of this, buying that Amazon, Wild West, Dream Coast land, or even going the Utah, Montana way. I think that's even less risk still, because of look at the way the corridor is pushing, look at the way the population is shifting, look at the way we're growing up. We are one of the youngest states. Not the youngest, but we are one of the youngest states, that we are developing so much. So I don't think the risk is there for the money. It's just at what level and what amount of money and where do you want to put your levels at. I wish I had all levels right now. I wish I could do the few $1 million land that I could just sit for 20, 30 years. Not there yet. I will be someday. Then I wish I had the second tier level where I could hunt, where I know I just told you I'm going to hunt those little spots back there, where I could hunt the pieces of land where I can hold for 5, 10 years and it will be developed, or commercial industrial, maybe 15, 20 years at the worst case, big deal. And then I wish I had the ones where, well, we are doing some of them where you buy the commercial and you build up the old commercial building and you can turn it around, or you buy the commercial lots that someone's already done and you build the commercial building, lease it out and go from there. a lot of this on the corridor you could do right now, depending on your amount of money and location and where it's at. You could make a killing. Even, it's the biggest killing. Here's one of the biggest ones is, I took a big breath for this. You ready? Drum roll. God, I am just unbelievable being blown up. There's a few I skipped I didn't mention, but drum roll, here we go. It's the big warehouse kind of shops where you have a shop, you have an office, you have a bathroom, and it's just like a warehouse. They have like the gym in it. They have the pet food store in it. They have manufacturing in it. But you basically just have these condos. And Tumwater did one, and I remember seeing them. I was like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, expensive, and I think it was like $400,000. And one of the agents that's with me has his own real estate company that came under me, that basically didn't come under me, has his real estate office with me. He's with EXP, so how you bring agents on. Brought his own office and team over with me at EXP and has his own company, real estate company, everything else. Bought one. And I was like, that's a great idea. I wish I would have, because now they're not $300-400, they're $700-800. And you have this big warehouse, big shop, office, bathroom, restroom, and condo, and it's all lined together, and it's just build those, because people love having that. Can I pull my truck in? I mean, I would buy one right now if I had the money, one, and two, the location, or rent or lease them is huge, because renting or leasing them, we don't have those. You see them all the time, and they're all over, and they're not enough. There's not enough of them for rent or for lease as well. But it's cool because you could have your office, you even pull your truck into your own thing, or just park in front, because you get 2 parking spots or whatever, 3, 4. They had parking in the middle of it. And it was a great idea, brilliant. But they go like candy, because everybody needs a warehouse, a shop, even man cave. $2,000 a month, I have extra money. I can put my boat in there, I can put my truck in there, I can write it off as a business because I'm a real estate broker, so I'm using it as an office. I have an office spot, I have a restroom. Done. Easy. $2,500, $3,000, fine. There you go. And I rent it, lease it, there you go. And to be honest, I'd love to own it, because, but you could you build and sell those, you could build and rent those. Those would go like hotcakes down here. Just on fire. And the problem is location. 1, we just don't have enough location. 2, you can make more money on different stuff. Like right now there's industrial parks or commercial, where you can actually do commercial storefronts with apartments above. Brilliant. But again, all this land down here through Tumwater, that's all getting developed. We're finally in Tumwater here. That wasn't too bad. 40 minutes. This drive is getting really easy. Maybe it's nice because I'm driving and talking. And I did drive for a little bit before I started talking too. I just love driving and listening to music, or even just driving and looking. It's like my reset button. There's another one. And that the reset button, that's that. I just need a minute, and you sit in your car and you just drive. You're on autopilot. You put the music on. Sometimes I forget to put music on. I'm just looking at the scenery, and I'm just like, this is great. And I love the freeways, the I-5s. The backcountry roads are nice too. If you got like a nice straight backcountry road to Mount St. Helens or over to Packwood, and you're going over the mountain, selling on Eastern Washington, those single lane roads, but it's just straight, or it's curvy, but you know where you're going. You don't have to think about, where do I turn here? Where do I turn there? Oh, don't make sure I don't miss that turn. That's what I like. You can just go, and I know, hey, I go for 2 hours that direction on this road, easy. Then I can turn off the direction navigational part of my brain. I can turn off pretty much everything and just drive and focus on scenery and listen to music. I love that reset. So before I made this video, I took a good 20-minute, although I was jonesing to talk. I love talking, especially real estate. But that was my good reset. I kind of want more now of a reset, but now I'm planning trips down to Mount St. Helens. We haven't taken the kids down Mount St. Helens in a while. 8 caves are down there. Cool camping, fishing down there. There's a great place that used to have great pie. I don't know if they do anymore. There's a little cool Bigfoot Sasquatch little store down that way towards Mount St. Helens. And then there's just amazing camping, all these lakes and rivers way back behind Mount Adams. Mount St. Helens, all that through there, and it's like a dry, I was going to say ponderosa tree, ponderosa pine, whatever. You know how they have the pine needles on the floor instead of all the undergrowth brush that we have up here, more in the mountains, that mountain style landscape that I love, and the smell and the everything like that. So now I'm already like, oh, maybe we'll take the family down there for a day trip or a camping trip with the RV this summer, and then I get my nice reset in driving. But my wife and I love to talk while I drive. I think she knows when I drive, I love to talk because I can turn everything else off. So then my wife and I just talk about everything. So I know she loves to use that time to talk with me because for some reason at home I don't talk. But while driving, maybe I'm stuck and then everything's shut off. So then I have to talk, I guess, is the only way I can describe it, because at home I can jump on the computer, I can do projects around the house, I can keep my mind not shut off, and so less talky, more dewy. So driving is a great way my wife and I love to communicate, and luckily we do a lot of driving. Like, she goes up to Vancouver, Washington to do her hair every 3 months because that's where her hairstylist is from. Vancouver, BC now, not Vancouver, Washington. So Vancouver, BC is a 3.5 hour drive, and so I love to do the drive. She loves it because I'm driving, and she gets her hair done, daughter gets her hair done, son gets her hair done, which is cool. And I get to drive and talk, which I love. I will say after 3.5 hours, I'm pretty much done driving. I mean, I could drive, but I mean, talking wise, yeah, I guess I could still easily talk more. But I'm like, I want to just be there for the day, so we'll rent a hotel usually and spend the night, and then I don't have to drive. But sometimes we'll do the turnaround. Those are long days, because now you're driving 7 hours and some, and then you're driving, and then talking kind of diminishes their quality as well. So, yeah, so I like the shorter ones, the hour, 2 hour, 3 hour at the most, driving ones. Wow, we really went off subject there. So back to real estate. We are now in Olympia, Lacey, Washington. I am actually having to freaking hold this camera because, Olympia's, the roads are amazing here on the freeway. They just really... we'll start to wrap up. If you want to look for land or investments or commercial properties, or want to hunt the Amazons and the Wild Wild West, or even the expansion westward, the Utahs, the Oklahomas, cities, and I'm using these all as references. If you don't get the reference with the expansion with real estate, don't call me, because then I'm already in trouble if you're not catching it. But the whole point is, if you're wanting to invest, you're wanting to go further and make more money, call me. I will hunt with you like none other, and we'll have a blast. As long as you're pre-approved. You can't even be pre-approved, as long as you have cash, let's be honest, because most of the stuff you can't buy pre-approved unless there's a building on it, and then we can hunt commercial buildings pre-approved, not a problem. So I do understand that. So if you're like, well, I'm not using cash to buy the whole building, I get it. I know that you can use credit unions and banks, high-end money, and you don't use all your cash. Completely get that. That's for commercial buildings. They're already there, developments, or if we have land that's already platted out that you can build on with it, fair enough, call me, we'll do that. But I'm talking the raw land of the Wild Wild West, Amazon, westward expansion lands, the different grades of the different lands, that is cash only. So just a heads up, there's no credit union or anybody that's going to give you the cash. Not these days, unless they want like 50% down, or maybe you'll get away with a credit union at 25% down. But then they want to see what you're going to do and build on it, so they know they can get their money back. And that's the great part about it, is because they think it's such a high risk that they devalue it. So that's where you're making the money, because their scales are so off on the pieces of land, because they think it's so high risk because it's so far out. Because remember, their metrics only go that 5 years or that 10 years at the most. They're not going 15, 20, 30 years. That's where we're making the extra money. That's where you're making the huge generational wealth, if you have the cash to go out and spend it out that way. There's the wins. And that's the nice thing about those scales, is those scales are so off that they're not even focused on that. Nor do they want to hold up their money, right? Their money can be making 5% instead of just sitting there. So, and I get that as well. So then you're saying, well, yeah, why would I put $1 million, 2 million, 3, 5, whatever millions we can find on land out in the middle there for a 20, 30-year hold where you can be making 5% for 20 years. Now, you could do the math, and so let's say it's 2 million for the building and you're making a 5% return on that. Fine. Okay, you're doing 100,000 a year. All right, in 20 years, 100,000, you're at 20 million minus expenses, everything. You're doing another 2 million, so you've doubled your money in 20 years. So from 2 million, and then the property's gone up probably another 2 to 4 million. So let's say 6 million minus everything. Let's say 5 million. So on 2 million, you probably made 5 million conservatively after 20 years. So yeah, I get that. If we can take that 2 million and buy 300 acres, 400, 500, 600 acres, whatever I can buy for 2 million on those acres, in 20 years, if I can turn around and develop those lots, and you have 300 acres, and I can develop that lot for, God, I almost thought I was getting pulled over again. Another sheriff. What is going on? I was speeding again a little bit. No, I was not. This is being recorded, so I was not speeding. But there's a sheriff going that way past a Lacey PD that does not have his lights on. But must be not in the city limits. That explains where I live at all. So, I mean, here's the deal. Yeah, okay, so 5 million, or you can take that 2 million, and in 20 years we have you probably have around 600 acres minimum, I'm thinking, with 2 million. If I can, actually I can get you more than that, but it depends on where I get it and everything. And if you're doing the long shots, 20 years, and we can develop it, and you can plat mat it out and everything, and you're selling in 20 years. Right now, plats are at 50,000. Let's just say, God, that'd be crazy if it was 100,000 or 200,000 a plat. Because right now it's like 40, 50,000 a lot. So let's say you get 100,000 or 200,000. Let's just say, can't imagine 200,000 a lot in 20 years. That'd be crazy. But that's what we're doing. We're predicting. But let's conserve it down some. Let's go 40,000. Let's just say it's 100,000 a lot. And let's say out of that 600 acres, 300 of acres is a gold rush. And that 300 acres, you're able to, lots are 10,000 square feet. It's 40. Let's say you can get, minus that, let's say you can get 4 lots per acre, but let's be conservative and still say 3 lots per acre just for greenbelt, conservative. And 3 times 300 is 900. 900 times, let's say, 100,000. Do the math on 900 times 100,000, so what is that, 9 million? So I've doubled more than what you did on 5 million. And that's only taking half the land, being conservative, of that 300 acres. It wasn't the whole 600 acres. Let's say both are gold strikes. Now you've made 18 million, or let's say one's a little less. Now you've made 15 million instead of 5 million. That's the point of this. That's the point of these long runs. That's the point of Amazon, Gold Rush, everything else like that. That's what you're looking for? Call me. Let's go do this. Captain Ron out. I love this stuff. I love real estate. Have a great day. I'm at Safeway. I'm going to get some hamburger buns because I want to barbecue a burger. All right. See you guys. Have a good day. Captain Ron out. Bye.